Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. Um, I'm hoping that my dogs don't bark like crazy maniacs during this podcast because in June and July mostly and August, Peruvians go crazy with their fireworks. There's a whole lot of festivals and general madness. So we'll see how this goes. I'm also going to be using some notes today. I hope you don't mind. So welcome to podcast number 2. Today we're going to be talking about the importance of community. And so community is important to everyone. Wait, before I start, I also have started a YouTube channel. I'll post the link below. So if you're here watching live, if you could put a comment put something in the comments or say hello. If you're watching the replay, you can put hashtag replay. And so if you would like to subscribe to my YouTube channel, or if you would prefer to watch it there, I'm going to put the link below. And so I'm looking to get as many subscribers as possible, even if you just watch it here. So if you could do me that favor, that would be amazing. So first I want to talk about, we all know, I feel like most of us know the health benefits of community. There's been so many studies about how having personal connections and having people to talk to, having support from your community, from your friends, from your family, is so important for our health. It's been shown to reduce depression and anxiety. It's great for your heart. So reduced heart conditions, lowering blood pressure, just lowering stress in general. It's been shown to increase your self-esteem, boost your mood, when you're with friends, of course. I always feel like my mood is lifted when I spend time with good friends, laughing, enjoying ourselves. But it can also even increase brain health, and especially as we get older. There's been some studies showing that even reducing the likelihood of something like Alzheimer's, to have a big community, not even a big community, just a strong community. We may even live longer. And because it also strengthens our immune system to be around other people, probably both physically and emotionally, right? So those are just the general community things, but I can't speak for men. I can only speak for women. I know maybe there's some men watching this, but being in community for women, I feel like is especially important because traditionally our medical system is not very supportive of women. We don't get the same, it's shown that we don't get the same healthcare as men. We don't get the same support. We don't get given medicines and things as we should often. And so especially as we grow older, especially during menopause, there's a lot of misinformation or lack of information. So information is a really important part for women. Women who have been through things that health struggles or issues that you've had, getting women to give us information, especially menopause. It's like this hush hush kind of strange thing that every woman will go through. I think I mentioned that last time. I'm big on menopause, so a lot of these conversations will tend to lead toward menopause anyway. And then another thing is just kind of a solidarity of women, feeling strong together, supporting each other. Community makes you feel not isolated. So especially, again, the topic of menopause, feeling like you're the only one that this is happening to, and other health struggles too, even from being younger and having issues, perhaps with your menstrual cycle and feeling like you're the only one, and then finding out later that the majority of women maybe have the same thing that you have. And so again, normalizing menopause and feeling like, that you're not the only one, and that it's normal. It's not some, slow march or quick march toward death, and getting some perspective is really helpful in community. Having a good community of women can really lift you up. I know it does to me. And then things like realizing that growing older can be a powerful time. It doesn't have to be a time that's scary or depressing or like everything's over, And so hearing women that are older than you, if you're younger, I feel like it really is a great way to, again, get perspective and feel good about where you are and feel good about where you're going without having this fear. And I've interviewed a lot of women about this topic. And one of the things that keeps coming up is that having a community of women is really important, because giving voice to your problems and fears kind of changes the energy. So it makes the fears kind of lose their charge. You speak this thing out that seems really scary inside of your head. Maybe you have anxiety about some health topic or an emotional topic, and then you share it with other people and you think, oh, maybe that's not so bad, or maybe it is bad, and you have support. And on this topic of support, being in a community of women, I feel, makes you feel more connected to women, and having this support instead of this idea of competition. I feel like, I'm not sure where this comes from, maybe from the media, maybe just nature, but feeling competitive with other women, I'm pretty against that. And I feel like the more women that you're in contact with, the more you feel connected, as opposed to this need for competition. So let me flip my paper around. I told you I'm using notes today. I want to make sure I say all the things that I want to say. So my dream, actually, and with this pause group that I have the Facebook group and also now this podcast. And, I'm looking forward to discussing lots of different topics with different women that I plan on interviewing starting very soon. And so my dream is to really create a community of women, where we don't judge each other. I feel like the judgment, first of all, comes from judgment of ourselves. And so when you're judging yourself, I feel like it's a lot easier to judge other people. When you're really harsh on yourself, when you criticize yourself, when you're, shaming yourselves or thinking bad things about yourselves, it's a lot easier to look out at the world and think that everyone else is crappy too, right? And so I would love to have a space for women to talk to each other, talk about their fears, not criticizing, not gossiping, and not fall into this gross trap of shame. So shame is an interesting topic, which I'd like to come back to in another podcast, where they say that, criticism and guilt comes from within usually, maybe not guilt. So criticism is within, and shame usually comes from without, but then it manifests within, right? And so I feel like if we can get out of this gross trap of shaming ourselves, we can get out of it for shaming others, because shame is, in my opinion, one of the least helpful emotions. I guess, is it an emotion or activity? One of the least helpful things is shame. Hi, Abby. Because it just, to me, it has a very negative feel. I feel like guilt sometimes can be positive in the sense of you feel guilty for doing something, for hurting someone. And you think, oh, I don't want to do that again. It kind of keeps you in line potentially, as long as it doesn't linger. But shame is something I would love for us to get rid of. And another thing I would love is that as women getting together, to not make each other feel old or unattractive or irrelevant, because, this goes back, I think, to this competition of women. And so, if you're feeling down on yourself and you want to make someone else feel down, then we're making another person maybe feel unattractive, or we're leaving ugly comments on social media. And I feel it's not helpful, because we're all in the same, I've spoke about this before, that we're on the same boat, really. We all have been, body shamed or shamed for our sexuality, or made to feel less than, or criticizing ourselves, and I feel like we all think we all have kind of a similar experience, and we think that we're the only ones, right? And then if we stop doing that to other women, then we won't get it done to us. Like if we all have some sort of pact to be nicer to each other, to not judge, to not say someone is fat or ugly or whatever, wrinkled, anything that is making the other person feel terrible. If we're kind of in a pact of sisters that we don't do this, then it kind of can't get done to us, right? And just having more compassion for ourselves, having the space to be unapologetically yourself, creating acceptance for ourselves and others, and bringing confidence into our lives. So that would be my goal, to have a whole gigantic worldwide group of women that are supporting each other in kind of a sisterhood, right? And so sometimes I hate that term sisterhood. Like it feels, I've lived much of my life in fairly hippie communities doing things like that, talking about sisterhood, talking about lots of energetics and things. So I'm not against it, but sisterhood kind of like it gets overused sometimes. But I think if you truly think of other women and feel towards other women, compassion and a real sense of sisterhood and love for your, I want to say fellow woman, I don't know if that's appropriate. I feel like the strength in that bond that you can feel with all other women, because of just the nature of being a woman, I feel like it's so powerful. And I feel like that sisterhood is where women get a really amazing inner strength. I mean, men, like I said, I'm not talking about men right now. This is not to exclude men. It's just a different experience. And the final thing I would like to talk about a little bit is my original group was about menopause, right? And then I felt, which is fine, I felt like I was excluding younger women, because you hear the word menopause, and you think that is an old lady thing. I don't want any part of it, right? If you're 30 or 20 or whatever. But ideally, all women of any age can benefit from that, because it's so that you don't arrive at that moment and it's scary. And so that's why I opened the group a little more to just women in general, because the women who are older and have gone through menopause, even completely finished with menopause, 70s and 80s, have such value to offer women in my age group in the 40s and 20s, 30s. So, because they've already gone through it. And so that information coming to the younger women can make you feel really supported and guided. And I think that's so important. And on the reverse side of it, what I would love is to have younger women in contact with women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 90s, because I feel like women ourselves are, sometimes we're the people who are throwing this criticism at this older woman, right? Like, oh, it's wrinkled, like you look old, you're in menopause. Like, I don't know if we do this consciously or not, maybe some of each, but, judging older women for being who they are, being older, being wrinkled, being maybe losing the shape that they had when they were younger. And I feel like if we have, a more broad age range, then together we can kind of change that part of the judgment. And we can, as younger women, they can appreciate and value what older women have to offer, and kind of look as a role model of like, how am I going to do this? No. And I know when I look at some older women that I consider amazing and powerful and beautiful, first of all, it doesn't have to do with their looks. It very rarely has to do with, maybe it's their look. And I've said this before, it's not the looks, it's the look. So the look of someone who owns their own space in their life, and maybe they own their wrinkles, maybe they hate their wrinkles. But having this security and confidence inside themselves is what really makes me admire a woman in her 90s who's hiking and active and has friendships and is doing exciting things. So I think joining younger women with women of all ages it can help both sides. It can help the side of the older women feel valued, and it can give kind of inspiration to a younger woman to not just value our looks, and to realize that your entire life is valuable. And the entire lifespan is valuable for different reasons. And as women in all of the age ranges together, I feel like that is where the strength of the community is. So I would love to welcome anyone watching, anyone who sees this, anyone who's in my pause group that was just about menopause and now is broader, to invite women of all ages to the group. And I invite you to share your experiences with me, either in the comments or in private messages. So I will have more inspiration in offering more topics for the podcast. And I'm going to start doing some more kind of themed months. And all of my content will be around those themes. So I look forward to sharing all of that with you. Again, if you would like to subscribe to my YouTube channel, I will be putting the link below. And thank you. I will see you next week at the same time. And remember, so it's streamed live in Facebook. Also in my Facebook group, please contact me if you would like to join that group, Pause Alchemy for Women, same name as the podcast. And I will put the YouTube link below. Thank you. Have a great Friday.